no further ado, I'm going to pass straight over to Team Nightmare Before Christmas.
Hello, welcome everyone. Yes, we are Nightmare Before Christmas. Welcome to our presentation. So the team consists of myself, Aniko, Steph, Will and Jeffrey. Bit of a disclaimer there, Jeffrey does have some birds and some boisterous birds in the background, so apologies if they make any sound. So introducing our app, Sportaneous. So Sportaneous is a tool to enable quick, easy, low-stress sports meetups. So sport's always been a great way to meet people and to create new relationships in a relatively low-stress environment. So our app connects the hosts who are posting their activity idea to potential attendees who can browse all the activities in their area. And with the date, time, and details all confirmed using the live chat functionality in the app, users can meet up and get to know each other over a run, maybe playing tennis, or maybe a hike, for example. So we're really targeting anyone who just wants to meet people in a less stressful environment. So this could be people who've just moved to a city, something that I experienced 3 months ago. Would love to have something like this to network with. People who just want to try a new sport. Maybe they just need an extra person to give them a bit of motivation to get active, or those people who just want a few more friends. So I'll now pass on to Aniko. She'll give you a demo of the app.
Thank you. So let's see the main features of our app. First, a new user is registering via Firebase phone authentication, and after confirming the verification code, they will be able to see all the listed events by other users. They can filter by category and click on the cards to see more details. The exact location is not added at this time for security reasons. When finding something interesting, they can request to join the event, and this request will appear on the host's profile for approval. Users can also organize their own events as well by filling out the event details, max capacity, and picking a date and a time. This is the posted event. While we're waiting for someone to join this event, let's check out the user profile. At the time of the registration, only the name is required, so the further details can be added here. For example, they can upload a profile picture or add the bio, or even change their name. And after submitting, going back to the profile, we can see the new hosted event, the volleyball tournament. The user can review who wants to join and accept or reject the applicants. So going back to the profile, we can see the user's request to join the bowled over has also been accepted. To discuss the event details, the exact location, for example, a chat room is automatically created with an event, and after joining, all the attendees will have access to it. This is a real-time chat, which is also using Firebase. And I will now pass this on to Will to explain our tech choices.
Thanks, Aniko. So when we came up with the idea of Sportaneous, we knew we wanted to create an app that mobile users could use for Android and iOS. When we were researching front-end ways of doing this, we found two main options. The first being Flutter, which uses the programming language Dart, and the other being React Native, which used JavaScript. Because we were already familiar with JavaScript, we opted for React Native. But this also gave us the capability to incorporate Typescript, which we were all keen into getting some introduction to a strict typing language, as it would help us find errors earlier on in the app development lifecycle. To help us configure the files for iOS and Android, we used Expo because this would do it in the background, but it also provided us with live updates as we were saving the code there and then, so we could see the changes we were making in real time. For the back end, we knew we wanted to interact with the database and update the front end in real time, but we also didn't want to limit the structure of our database so that we could add future features. For this reason, we went with a non-relational database. So when we were looking into opportunities for that, possibilities, we came across Firebase's Cloud Firestore, which would allow us to access the data in real time and use it straight away. We also found that Firebase had other features that we were looking to implement, such as the authentication and the storage features. We really liked Firebase's authentication because it provided each user with a personal access token, meaning only they could log in from when they provided their mobile number, and they'd only have access to their details. By having this all in one location from one source, it meant we were able to allocate more time into adding more features in the project. However, this didn't come without challenges, which I'll pass on over to Steph to explain more.
Thank you, Will. Yeah, so as Will mentioned, we were using Firebase for the authentication, and authentication was one of the main problems I think we encountered early on. It involved a lot of spiking and research, and we wanted something that was convenient for mobile users. So something that would allow them to log in and remain logged in, assuming they'd be on the same device, without having to constantly log in and log out every time they open the app. So yeah, we did a lot of research on this into various backend solutions. We looked at local storage, we looked at email and password verification. Eventually, we ended up settling on the Firebase solution, and because of the authentication token based on device, it allowed us just to log them in once and then they'd be remembered. And yeah, it ended up being a lot more convenient that way. Another main problem was needing image access in order for bios and profiles. We needed a way to store and access a lot of these images per user, and the way this works in Firebase turned out to be a bit more complicated than we'd imagined. But on the other hand, it also did give us a chance to work with allowing apps permission from the user's device, which is something that we never had to worry about in terms of front-end web app development. It's just not something you have to deal with there. So yeah, it gave us a chance to look into things we'd never done before there as well, which is quite interesting. Styling, as ever, is a very time-intensive process. So it was another thing that we ran into on such a short time scale for this project. It was a bit of a different process to get used to in terms of React Native, as opposed to just CSS on the front end in something like React.js. But we had all that basic familiarity with CSS as a framework, and it gave us this chance to apply it in a completely new context. And something that we did to completely simplify a lot of the worries involved in that was to stick to a consistent design. The events list was a design that was pretty much cemented pretty early on in the process, so we basically copied that along a lot of the other elements. And one of the main problems we ran into was controlling the ambition that we had when we initially set out for this project. We had a lot of ideas to expand on this idea and bring in new features, and we ended up having to exercise a lot of restraint in what we were doing. And eventually, we just had to focus down on what was strictly necessary in order to bring it to an MVP and just get those core features right. So Jeffrey can now talk about a little bit more of the future development of this app and what we could do later on. So I'll pass you over to him.
Thank you, Steph. If we had more time, we would have liked to incorporate a lot of different features which would have made for a better user-friendly experience. Some of the features we would like to incorporate were a map view around the user with available events and the function to rate other users and events after they have met or attended. With an app like Sportaneous, UX is very important. With more time, we would like to streamline the process and the interface, and would like to incorporate features that would aid in such a thing as in friends lists, social groups, and methods of reporting of any potential issues. And of course, for any form of sponsorship wouldn't hurt with the development either. This has been Nightmare Before Christmas. Thank you for your time. And any questions?